So when Mary discovered that she was pregnant, she let out a howl. Anybody here good at making coyote howls? Can you guys howl like a coyote? Ow, 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 ow. Any other howl? Anybody else howl out there? Hey, there's one in the back. Calvin. Thank you, yes. Good one. Who else? Anybody else? Any other howlers out there? Let it out. Let it out. That's what Mary did. Let it loose in the Magnificat. Just the name of it, Magnificat. Magnification, right? Something wonderful happens and it gets magnified. The love and the glory of God magnified through us, through Mary, through you and I. And howling is a great way to do that magnifying. Mysterious. Okay, I'll back off. Yes, one of the lines in the Magnificat that stuck out to me this time when I read it this year was this one. He has scattered the proud in the imaginations of their hearts. Let that one sink in, huh? Scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. Timely message, it seems to me, as the appearance of the Aztec Virgin Mary in 1531 gave hope to her native Mexicans after suffering the Holocaust of the Spanish invasion, so the Virgin gives us hope in her Magnificat today. For what any prediction is worth, I would predict that America is about to experience a really harsh and painful civics lesson, starting on January the 20th. We're already getting a syllabus for that civics lesson, as remarkably inappropriate persons are appointed and nominated for cabinet positions, including a disproportion of billionaires, who are the real they, them that the administration is about. Doesn't look like it's about us. These plutocrats are quite proud in the imaginations of their hearts. One of them in particular fancies himself as a sort of god, master of the cosmos. Our house in Ojai is exactly 100 miles from Vandenberg Air Base, right? And every time Elon shoots off one of those monstrous rockets, every window in our house shakes. And we're planning to send him a bill for the repair of the cracks that have formed in our drywall as a result of it's tremendous. 100 miles away. A guy I know thinks it's big fun to go to Vandenberg and be about a mile or two from the launches, and he says he actually has to sit down on the ground when the launch goes off. 2 miles away. It's so intense he can hardly stand up. And then my dear Roberta and I sit on our deck at night and we see the white dots going across the sky, like that. And we are just boggled by the idea that there's one person so rich and powerful that he can change our view of the stars. Right? Actually change the cosmos itself. So he thinks he can control the cosmos, and now he thinks he can fix the government. And there's one little problem with that, Elon, and that is that CEOs are dictators. Their job is to be dictators. That's what they do. Democracy doesn't mix very well with dictators. Yes? He has no experience with democracy at all. Now, if you have multiple dictators in businesses competing with each other, maybe that can work to a certain degree, right? But when you have a governmental dictatorship, that always devolves into corruption, cronyism, and a loss of human freedoms. You know, if we wanted our country to be run by a king, then we would not have fought the Revolutionary War, right? King George was the CEO of Britain, and didn't work for us. So, scatter, you billionaires, scatter, proud in the imaginations of your hearts. Go home, play with your rockets, play with your cryptocurrencies, and leave us alone to run our own democracy, please and thank you. So it may take a while to scatter the current crop of the breathtakingly arrogant who are taking over in Washington. But as this unpleasant civics lesson unfolds, I have a strong feeling that it will happen. We followers of Mary are not going to stay silent for long. Yeah? Her Magnificat is a manifesto, a howling manifesto that makes it clear where we're aiming. It aims us in the direction of taking care of the most vulnerable in our society so that they get what they need. And today that requires something a lot more than personal charity. We just had Giving Tuesday, right? Hooray for that. We should be giving. We should be supporting the nonprofits that protect the most vulnerable. One of those nonprofits is the United Church of Christ, Simi Valley. So we have a pledge letter I'll pass out later about that on that topic. So yes, charity, a wonderful thing. Is it the solution to our problems of inequality and lack of access to health care and housing, etc.? No, it helps, but it's not the solution. To do that requires structural change through our governmental system led by, controlled by our democracy. The Hindu sage Sri Aurobindo, wonderful 20th century guru, he said, the existence of poverty is the proof of an unjust and ill-organized society, and our public charities are but the first tardy awakening in the conscience of a robber. Harsh words, yes. And then the founder of the American branch of the Salvation Army in 1890, Ballington Booth, he said, to right the social wrong by charity is like bailing out the ocean with a thimble. Yeah? We must readjust our social machinery so that the producers of wealth also become the owners of that wealth. Well, since the days of Ballington Booth, the Salvation Army has been co-opted by its wealthy donors into silence and no longer has a voice for social justice and social structure at all. It's docile, it's lost its juice. It's time for Mary and her followers to grab that bell and instead of ringing it in front of supermarkets, take it to Congress and ring it there. Yeah? So yeah, this is my Christmas political sermon, echoing the message of Mary's Magnificat. There's no getting around it when you read that passage from the scripture. This church has always been a resistance church. This church has always been a Magnificat church. Yes? All the way back. What a tremendous and wonderful legacy we have and that we stand for. And so it's time for us to be the Magnificat church in new ways again. It's going to get interesting, and I look forward to us all working together to craft our particular special witness as this all unfolds. We need to let our community know what's distinctive about us, who we are and who we aren't. We need to be invitational to people who are looking for what we're all about. And they're out there, and they will be here as we do this. Ex-evangelicals, sick of the, tired of the way of that Jesus' message has been twisted like a pretzel into promoting regressive social and political agendas. I am certain that we're going to be called into solidarity with migrants. We're threatened with kind of performative cruelty that is planned for them. We are called to lift up a vision of the kind of society we want to live in. Yeah. Where there are sane and humane and reasonable immigration policies. And we can make that visible by exercising civil initiative. What is this? Well, first thing to say is that we have done, as a church, we have done civil initiative already, right? Back in 2008, Proposition 8 passed, banning same-sex marriage in California. I am pretty sure that this church performed same-sex marriages anyway. Yes? I performed a same-sex marriage myself. I performed one about 28 years ago for the first time. It was not legal, but marriage is spiritual. Yes? First of all, most importantly, marriage is a spiritual reality, right? It's real whether the law recognizes it or not. So, our progressive churches conducted same-sex marriages, even though they weren't legally recognized. We did that. And you know what? Every time we did one of those weddings, we converted a bunch of people to the cause. Every time. The first one I ever did 28 years ago, I'd say about half the people in the car that were there for the beautiful ceremony were very nervous and iffy. Like, I don't know about this. I was like, well, this is weird. But then, as I was standing up there with the couple, these two men, and it was obvious to me that they were as married as any heterosexual couple I had ever performed marriage for. They were married, right? They were together. There was love and commitment there. It was everything I could do to keep myself from weeping through the whole thing. And I just looked at the crowd and I go, converts. They get it, they're getting it, and that's how this changed, right? So that is an example of what we call civil initiative. So you've heard of civil disobedience, right? That's where there's an unjust law, and you disobey it, and you accept the consequences of disobeying it, right? You're upfront about that. They send you to jail for it. Okay, I'm going to jail. I broke the law, go to jail, whatever. That's civil disobedience. Very important. But a companion to it is a thing called civil initiative. The nearest person I ever had in my life to a guru was a guy by the name of Jim Corbett. He was an Arizona cowboy, lived close to the border, and fluent in Spanish, spent a lot of time in Mexico. He also had a master's in philosophy from Harvard. He was the best educated cowboy I ever met. He was next level. Also a Hebrew scholar, self-taught, a biblical theologian, self-taught. Anyway, he came up with this concept of civil initiative. And this is what he says. Civil initiative maintains and extends the rule of law, unlike civil disobedience, which breaks it, and civil obedience, which lets the government break it. The heart of a societal order guided by the rule of law is the principle that the nonviolent protection of basic rights is never illegal. These basic rights and their matching obligations constitute standards of just conduct that the government counter-enforcement is unable to nullify, short of destroying the social order itself. While openly submitting to the trials and penalties imposed by the government, the free community refuses to be coerced into collaborating with violations of the law, that is, right, natural rights. Rather, it exercises its rights and protects the violated. This is how liberty grows and society forms. So civil initiative is obeying the law that should be on the books until it is on the books. So we here obeyed the law that should be on the books when we did same-sex marriages before they were legal. We did that as a community when we took in undocumented persons who were threatened with deportation unfairly. We have already done civil initiative, and we're going to be asked to do it again. So let's get ready. Let's get clear about what we're about. It's coming full circle. We're going to be called to engage in this, obeying the law that ought to exist until it does exist. Yes? And we're not alone. The American people actually want comprehensive immigration reform that protects the dreamers, that gives a path of citizenship to the 11 plus million people that have been in this country for decades and have not been deported yet and are every bit as American as the rest of us. The American people want this. And so we're going to be asked to obey that law that should exist until it does exist. Because we are a Magnificat church. Yes? Amen. And I would like to invite my dear Sissy to come forward and sing for us.
We are all Mohanos in a promised land. We'll cross that bright river today. All our backs will be wet when we finally stand at the throne of God one day. Nobody's thirsty in the promised land. Coyote can't steal your soul. Buzzards don't glide over desert sands. There is no border patrol. We are all Mohanos in the promised land. We'll cross that bright river today. All our backs will be wet when we finally stand at the throne of God someday. There are no migra at the pearly gates, no fake IDs to buy. They don't take your money and leave you to fate. You can't get caught in a lie. We are all Mohanos in the promised land. We'll cross that bright river today. All our backs will be wet when we finally stand at the throne of God one day. You won't get deported from the promised land. You cross over there, you are home. It's our place to build and our place to stand. Heaven to earth, kingdom come. Everybody. We are all Mohanos in the promised land. We'll cross that bright river today. All our backs will be wet when we finally stand at the throne of God one day. One more time. We are all mojados in the promised land. We'll cross that bright river today. All our backs will be wet when we finally stand at the throne of God someday.